Hello and welcome to Football League World TV. I'm Marcus Alley and I'm going to be discussing the top 5 best Peterborough United strikers of all time today with Alex Batt. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you, mate. I'm good. Very much looking forward to this. How are you?
Yeah, really well, thank you. Going to be an interesting conversation. Obviously, Posh really known for some great attacking football in the last few years. So let's kick off with number 5 on the list. So going back a few years now, probably the longest time ago that they played for Peterborough in this list. Who's at number 5, Alex?
So I've gone for Mckenzie. Like I said to you before the show, it really depends how old you are for these sort of lists. And I was born in early 90s. So I just about remember Mckenzie when I was a small child going to Peterborough for the first time. And yeah, he was a really, really good striker. And obviously he went on to Norwich and had great success there. And yeah, I just remember going as a child and really loving the way he played football. He was powerful, he was fast, he was clinical, and yeah, it's tough to do this list because, like you say, Posh have been blessed with some really, really good strikers, and I didn't want to just do 5 modern temporary ones that I really, really remember. So I did have a long, hard think about it when I knew I was coming on, and yeah, I think Mckenzie was just he felt for me he was like our first real star. I know we had like Matthew Everton and Simon Davies and stuff like that, but Mckenzie was the first one I really remember being top class for our level at the time, and obviously went on and did it in higher leagues as well. So I think he has to be in the top 5 at the very least.
Absolutely. So Mckenzie's in at number 5. If you've got any opinions to share with us Peterborough fans, please do get in contact with us via the comments section. Can see if we've got any different suggestions. Also, please do subscribe to Football League World TV and drop a like on the video if you're enjoying this sort of content. It really does help us out. One thing that stood out for me with Mckenzie, Alex, was it just all seems so natural. I'm not sure he was maybe the most dedicated footballer. Maybe not someone that's absolutely smashing it on the training ground every day. I know he had a pretty tricky time with injuries that sort of led to him not being able to do that as much. But just that there were certain touches in a game I feel like with Mckenzie could just pluck a ball out of the air, take it down so easily. It really looked like a naturally given talent that obviously performed so well for Posh.
Yeah, that's perfect summary. Really, he was just naturally very gifted, and we've had a lot of them. You know, Lee Tomlin is another example of someone who just naturally has that talent and doesn't really need to do much work to sort of get the best out of himself. And yeah, Mckenzie, sometimes people would look at him and think, oh, he doesn't care or he's not trying, but next 10 minutes he would score 2 goals or something like that and make the goals look so easy and just came, like you say, natural to him. So I think, yeah, I think a lot of Posh fans will have a lot of fond memories of him, as will Norwich fans, of course, as well. So I would like to think most Posh fans would have Mckenzie in there somewhere. But yeah, I think for me, just because of my age, I couldn't really put him any higher than 5th.
Yeah, a bit of a journeyman striker in the end. I think a lot of fans have been delighted to be able to watch Mckenzie over the years. Next up, we're looking at a very, very prolific Football League striker. So, Alex, a player that left Posh for big money. Who's in at number 4?
Number 4 has to go to Dwight Gale for me. He came in on loan and was unbelievable originally. I think he scored about 7 goals in 9 games when we signed him originally on loan. I think then the Championship as well. And then, yeah, we made it permanent in January, and he was just, I remember his hat-trick against Blackburn. I think we beat them 3-2. He scored all 3 goals, and he was just so good. He was so fast, low sense of gravity, and his finishing was up there with the very best. I think a lot of people would probably maybe have him higher on their list, but I seem to think he was sort of the first real top class striker. And we've had obviously a few since, but he just felt like a breath of fresh air for Peterborough United. And there's no surprise where he's gone on since he left Posh. You know, it's a shame that he didn't quite do it as regularly in the Premier League as I think he could have done. He's one of those players that seems, you know, too good for the Championship, but not quite good enough for the Premier League. And a few teams are the same, but every time he's in the Championship, you know he's going to just slot for fun. And yeah, he was a joy to watch. Although he wasn't there for long, he was just in that spell for us in the Championship. He was superb.
Yeah, absolutely does seem like one of those players that when he gets into the Championship, a bit of a cheat code in pushing for automatic promotion and things like that. Just touching on that, why he hasn't quite caught fire in the Premier League during his career. Do you think it's maybe been bad fits at certain clubs? Newcastle United hasn't been a great club to play for a striker in recent years, or maybe not a great partner to play with. Why do you think it hasn't quite clicked for him?
Yeah, I think the fits of the club is a good assessment, because you look at Mitrovic now. He's just an absolute joke in the Championship, but Premier League couldn't do it. Again, he was at Newcastle, where you're playing for a team that don't create that many chances and aren't always on the front foot. I think if Gale was given a chance at a team that were a bit more attacking, a bit more creative, had a bit more pace about them, then he would have slotted right in, because there's no questioning his finishing ability. You know, he was superb in front of goal. And I think even at Crystal Palace, I'm pretty sure he was their top scorer for like 3 seasons in a row. He just never really seemed to get given the chances. He was never the main man. He was always coming off the bench. You know, obviously they had the classic game against Liverpool where I think he scored 2 of the goals. And he is just a really good finisher, but it feels like you say that the club's never really had full belief in him and never truly backed him to be their main man, which is a shame, because, you know, like you say, in the Championship, he slots for fun, and he will do that for most clubs at that level.
Yeah, so another player with fond memories attached to various fan bases, I think, across the Football League. So in at number 4 is Dwight Gale. Let's see who's in at 3. Maybe another bit of a journeyman in at number 3. Alex, who have you gone for?
Yeah, I originally had him at number 2, but just before we came on air, I bumped him down to 3, and it's Britta Sombolonga. He was mesmerising on his day. You know, he was one of those players that would score a goal from absolutely out of nowhere. I remember one in particular. I'm pretty sure we were against MK Dons when we were in the midst of that massive rivalry we had with them in League One. He picked up the ball from about 35 yards and just drilled it into the bottom corner. It was a game we were on the back foot and we weren't looking very good, and he did that. And I'm pretty sure it gave us the 1-0 lead. He was so strong, so powerful, so quick, so cool and calm in front of goal. You know, his penalties were very much just almost like what Lyle Taylor does now, just sort of strolls up and slots it in. And I remember I was at a game recently with my dad, and the team that we were watching had a penalty, and he was like, "Oh, I don't feel confident he's going to score." And I said, "I never feel confident unless it's Britta Sombolonga," because he was just so calm, and yet you'd back him to score whenever he had the chance. And again, another one that left us sadly for bigger and better things, but then injuries really hampered his career. I had no doubt in my mind he'd be a Premier League striker when he left us, because he was the full package. He had the pace, he had the strength, he had the work rate, he had that style about him. You know, he was almost very Thierry Henry-ish with his arrogance. He sort of just didn't really celebrate too much when he scored, because he was almost like, yeah, that's what I can do, that's what I do. So he had that smirk and that arrogance about him, which makes you a really good footballer as long as you can back it up. And yeah, he was mesmerising to watch on his day. And I'm pretty sure he started really well for Middlesbrough as well, but then he had a serious injury. And then I think he fell out with managers, especially at Forest. I'm pretty sure he fell out with the manager there. And it never really quite took him to where he deserved to be, because like I say, I would have put good money on him being a regular Premier League striker once he left us.
Yeah, so another striker that really sort of made his name at Peterborough before going on to other clubs. And he did really shoulder that expectation, I think, as leading the line at clubs like the size of Nottingham Forest and Middlesbrough. Going back to his penalty-taking ability, over the years at Peterborough, is he right up there in terms of the best you've ever seen?
I think so, yeah. I remember the one in the Johnson Paint Trophy final against Chesterfield. It was at our end, actually. We were at the game at Wembley, and I think we were 2-1 up at the time, but we had a man sent off and we got a penalty, and he stepped up and he just walked up to the ball, and obviously all the fans, me in particular, I was absolutely bricking it, thinking, what on earth are you doing? Just put your laces through it. And he's literally just rolled it along the floor I'm pretty sure it went down the middle as well. And you just like, the balls to do that is ridiculous. So yeah, you're always confident Britta Sombolonga would score, whether it be a penalty or from open play. You know, if you put him through on goal or in front of the goal, he was going to bury it, and he did that on the regular for us. And you got to remember as well, with all these Peterborough strikers, it always seemed they came in having to replace someone who was the best striker like in the league or at that level. We've had that conveyor belt where the person who's left has been the best in the league. We've had to try and replace them, and that person who has replaced them has managed to somehow do it. And Tomlin was another one of those where we came in at Watford. I think he was in Watford's youth, and they didn't really give him that much of a chance. And we took a punt on him. I'm pretty sure we paid nearly $1 million, if not more, for him at the time. And yeah, it paid off massively because he was brilliant for us, and we got a good fee for him as well when we sold him.
Yeah, still strutting his stuff. I think he's in the Turkish Super League at the moment.
Yeah, actually, I
Britta
didn't know that.
Longer.
Wow.
Yeah, so yeah, still doing it. We'll see how long he lasts. Obviously, you mentioned the injuries. Hopefully, he can keep playing on a little bit longer than maybe you expected at some of the lower points in his career. Anyway, moving on to number 2, and it's a completely different style of striker, I think. So we've had Leon Mckenzie, Dwight Gale, Britta Sombalonga. Who's in at number 2?
So number 2, he was originally number 3 actually, but then I did move Britt and him around. And number 2 is Kramer Smith. Yeah, I mean, started at Posh in League 2, left us in the Championship. He was crucial to that. You know, obviously the holy trinity of Mikhail Smith, McLean, and George Boyd. The fact that we had those 3 playing in the same team at the same time in League 2 and 1 seems like an absolute cheat code, especially when you look at what they did after that. But yeah, Maka was just relentless, absolutely relentless. There wasn't a ball he wouldn't chase. There wasn't a defender he wouldn't harass. And again, he had the pace. You know, he was a little whippersnapper. You know, he wasn't the biggest guy, but he had the pace. He had the strength. He had great aerial ability, to be fair to him. And again, the finishing, you'd back him to slot most of his chances. I'm pretty sure the season we got promoted via the playoffs when we beat Huddersfield 3-0 at Old Trafford, which is comfortably the best day of my life. It was unbelievable when he scored and then left us sadly. But he was the most clinical striker in England. He scored the most goals. I'm pretty sure it's around 37 he got or something like that. And he was superb. He was massively important getting us out of League 2 and then getting us out of League 1 into the Championship. He scored a bag full of goals, I think somewhere in the mid-20s. And then obviously we got relegated, but then Old Trafford happened and, you know, the 2 quick-fire goals near the end to make it 2-0 and then the third eventually coming. It was unbelievable and a perfect way for Kramer Smith to say goodbye to Posh. He obviously came back on loan, but it didn't really work out as well as it could have done. But yeah, the Old Trafford farewell will always be a very special moment.
Absolutely. I've got a lot of admiration, I think, for strikers like Mikhail Smith, where you can just tell how much work they do for the team, even off the ball. Like we mentioned at the start, how Leon Mckenzie, it felt like it was just something he always had in him, just that class in possession. Maybe with Mikhail Smith, not quite a polar opposite, but definitely a player that you could see was hitting his straps on the training ground, setting those standards, and left no stone unturned in terms of making a very successful career as a professional footballer.
Yeah, he left it all on the pitch. I know that's a bit of a cliche, but I mean, if anyone did, it was Kramer Smith. There's the amount of times where it's the last minutes and we're hoofing the ball and he's the one chasing after it, and it looks like he's barely played, yet alone done 90 minutes. He was just absolutely relentless, and I can only imagine at League 2 and League 1 level, those defenders would not want the ball at their feet when he's charging at you because, yeah, it was non-stop 90 minutes. And yeah, another one that suffered from injury, sadly, when he moved on to Brighton. I think at the time I remember saying he'll be fine when he goes up the leagues because he's got that work rate, like you say, he's got that about him, and he's a good finisher. But again, injury sort of prevented what could have been for him. But at Posh and the first spell at Posh, he was unbelievable.
Yeah, it has to go down as a Football League and certainly Peterborough United legend of, I think, the last decade or so. Craig Mikhail Smith had to be a sure choice in at number 2. But let's get into it, the bit you've all been waiting for, number 1. So another player that Peter have been able to recoup a significant transfer fee for. Who's top of the list?
Had to be Ivan Toney, didn't it? I mean, he's the best player I've ever seen at Peterborough United, not just striker, but he's just unbelievable. I can't have much words to say about him just because he is that good. He had everything of what the previous 5 strikers had as well. But it had it all as well. He was strong, fast, clinical, great in the air, good with the ball at his feet, composed, a bit arrogant, and that's what you want from a striker. And he was just so good to watch. And it's a shame that obviously COVID hit and we didn't have a chance to properly say goodbye to him, because we knew we were going to lose him, because he was just breathtaking to watch. He was scoring goals which were just ridiculous and making highlight reels every week. And I'm so glad he's gone on. And a lot of people were saying, oh, he won't do it at a higher level. And, when he obviously broke the championship record, I think a lot of Peterborough fans were like, yeah, we knew that was going to happen. He is that good. And now he's doing it in the Premier League, and surely an England call-up is only a matter of time away, which will be fantastic. But at Peterborough, yeah, he's the best player I've ever seen at London Road. He was just so good. And I'm baffled that Newcastle never really gave this guy a chance, especially when you consider the level of that club at the minute. In the last few years, they've not exactly been groundbreaking. So the thought that Ivan Toney couldn't get a chance there blows my mind. He'd be snapped up by them immediately now, I think. But yeah, their loss was our gain, and he was truly phenomenal to watch. And again, someone who was just so calm but arrogant as well, and he was just perfect to watch.
Yeah, I think the strength of character maybe is something that stands out for me with Ivan Toney. He had so many loan spells away from Newcastle United, had to bide his time even a little bit at Peterborough, but just came through. Do you think that that's something that's really important for a striker? And then going on for that, the World Cup 2022, is he getting on the plane for you?
Well, yeah, you say by any time. Like at the time, we had Mo Isa as well, who was a new signing, and he started the season superbly. And I think he'd scored 15 or something by Christmas. But there was a point where it flipped over, and Ivan Toney took the lead and just never looked back, really. And sadly, we obviously ended up selling Mo Isa to MK. But yeah, just with the World Cup, I don't know. I think he might just miss out, because you look at the English strikers that are available. You've got Harry Kane, who's obviously going to be there. You think Calvert-Lewin, once he gets fit, will probably be there. And yeah, there's a lot of competition for those places. But for me, he's up there with Calvert-Lewin. He's up there with Patrick Bamford. He is on their level. Danny Ings, he is on their level, and I do believe he'll get a big move, whether it be next summer or the summer after. I think there will be a big move in his future. But yeah, for Peterborough United, he's undoubtedly the greatest striker we've ever had. And I think even if you did a top 5 players of all time, I'd be very surprised if he didn't creep into most people's top 5.
It definitely offers something different, I think, compared to what England have already got. A bit of a physical brute out of possession. He's a nightmare for defenders. We've just got a comment coming in here, Alex. It's from Matthew Kisby. He said, Leon over King Kenny. He was called the King for a reason. Have you got any response to that, defending your Leon Mckenzie shout?
That's when age comes in. I've got to put who I saw and who I can comment on. There'll be so many people who are older than me, who have watched Posh longer than me. But yeah, for my 5, I have to go with people that I've actually seen, because I think that's only fair. There's no right or wrong answer, really. There's if there's someone who's watched Posh for 50 years, they're going to have a more portfolio to choose from. But for my 29 years, they're the 5 that I would back and be happy to say they're my top 5.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a great 5 strikers: Leon Mckenzie, Dwight Gale, Britt Sombolonga, Craig McHale-Smith, and finally Ivan Toney. Let's see what he goes on to achieve in the next few years. So that brings us to the end of the show. Thanks a lot, Alex. We really appreciate your time here at Football League World. Please do subscribe to FLW TV if you've enjoyed the video. Please also drop a like. It really does help us out. But before next time, thanks for watching.